Hi everyone, this is Karak from ACG, and today I join you from the dark, deep recesses of the worst kind of failure known to man, the land of broken promises and shattered hopes, development hell. But I do so as a participant and not an outsider, because today I'm reviewing The Magic Circle, which, despite sounding like a Wiccan sex magic guidebook, is actually a game where you play someone stuck in the engine of a game in development hell, constantly listening to the bickering, childlike developers as they decide how best to screw up artistic creation with consistent in-game and fourth wall jokes scattered throughout. While playing, you edit the game from the inside, changing character attributes, building the levels, and in the end, using your trusty magic circle of editing delight to alter everything around you and screw up the developer's plans. It all sounds so conceptual, doesn't it? Well, let's see if it is. Here we go. The review for Magic Circle, fourth wall jokes, bickering developers, editable universe, and lots of spiders. First up is graphics, the digital wonder that dazzles the mind. Honestly, at times, the Magic Circle's pretty damn rough to look at, though much of that's by design, and when designing a game that's going to harken back to the DOS days, you need to have a keen sense of design not to cut the gamer's eye on polygons the size of most current titles' NPCs. For the most part, Circle of Life does okay in that regard, spreading your gameplay across the fantasy worlds of the current gameplay design document, and also the buried underneath secret original design of the game, which was a sci-fi Doom-like world. Breaking fourth, fifth, and sixth walls here, the game soon has you running, leaping, editing, and becoming the master of digital pets through various levels. All of those various levels looking like a mixture of being halfway done and something that looks like I made it after staying up 44 hours and using MS Paint. The aesthetic itself is unique if not pleasing, and the highlight for me was the sci-fi bits, which, though tough as hell to look at, still brought a heavy nostalgia game and brought it well. Additionally, as the world mixes between the two, they do a good job of making the entire environment seem alive, with tunnels opening up behind you, new locations to scout, and a fairly large overall world to explore. Sadly, many of the monsters and locations in the game, though, just look out and out rough, many just looking more odd than really thoughtfully designed. I'd say okay to good depending on where you were and what you were doing at any one particular time, with excellent marks for imagination and world planning, but somewhat held back by creature design and the world's aesthetics. Up next is sound, music, and voice.
Now I know. They ain't never gonna finish. It's a big loop. And you and me, we were born to break it.
Years. We've all aged 10 years hitting beta. We're down to minor fixes.
The sound is excellent, from the attacks of various creatures to the whoosh of fiery death emitting from rock jack-o'-lantern looking enemies that cook you on the spot if you're not careful. Everything was really well done. Jet into the sci-fi world, and the entire soundscape changes around you, lodging you into that world. And it's even better when the two worlds mix. The sounds do as well. Very well done. Music. It's good. It wasn't great, but what was there was serviceable, with a couple particular sections of note here and there. A lot of it's an ambient vibe. It was okay for what it did, but because of the way the gameplay is, there really wasn't a lot of places for music to be. And up next is voice. The various Skybasters, which are avatars for the developers as they look into the world, seeing both their own creations and the destructions you've wrought with your handy-dandy world editor, are done well, though the humor seems very tame for a game developed to poke fun at game development. And most, if not all, of the jokes fell flatter than mine. I mean, many times it was actually a bit cringeworthy, though I did enjoy the back and forth between the developers as they bickered over ideas. Some of the conversations seemed overly long, trying to get a point across that probably could have been done much quicker. I would say really good voice work, but sometimes awful writing and direction, especially for such an awesome plot point. It was really depressing to see the writing fail on multiple levels. Up next is gameplay. As you enter the world, you begin talking to stone heads, which are basically a creature from within the game that tells you how to interact, which boils down to editing the creatures and levels around you to perform particular actions and activities, such as taking out bad guys, solving puzzles, and the crux of the overall gameplay, which is creating a legion of biting evil attack plant dogs that are so loyal they make Russell Wilson's girlfriend look tame by comparison. You can create your circle of magic and edit any creature trapped within it, adjusting their friend and foe targets, their ways of attack, and how they move around the world. You can also do that to other entities within the world, which can create some hilarious combinations. You can also steal those attributes from items within the world and add them to other items, creating unique and oftentimes questionably useful entities to defend you, or as I created, completely useless attack one another helpers by accidentally ignoring one of the settings. It's all good fun and a very unique gameplay element that not only has never been done before to this degree, but makes real tangible changes to the game world, and I actually love that particular bit. As you progress farther in the game, you discover that a secret sci-fi Doom-like world was originally created for the game, only to be rewritten Ken Levine style right over the top by a fantasy world, and soon you're exploring offshoots of both, with radar dishes next to vanishing mushrooms becoming a completely normal occurrence. Sadly, aside from having various actions depending on what tool you're using, the gameplay, though varied, didn't actually feel varied enough. I mean, it was fun, it was unique, but sometimes I just found myself a bit bored with everything that was going on, and despite the long-winded cutscenes that in the strangest way became as annoying as the very thing they were poking fun of, the story became more enjoyable to me than the actual gameplay, which for the most part is solidly basic. Despite all the connections and unique entity adjustments you can make, the world itself never really felt truly changeable or impacted. It was an odd disconnect between what was occurring and what was impacting me as the gamer. It could have been this black and white color scheme they chose, I'm not quite sure, but in the end, it just didn't grab me that much. Fun factor. You can't argue that the game has a good deal to explore and alter, and the story and unique subworld is a delight, but this is a game that for me wasn't all that fun in anything more than really short spurts. It was interesting and at times thought-provoking, but it never rubbed my fun spot for longer than a couple of minutes, despite any new mechanic thrown at me and each new area that was unlocked. I just never got that rush of anticipation. It just didn't interest me. So I rate games on a buy, wait for a sale, rent, or never talk about it again rating scale. This is a wait for a sale. I think there is more than enough to grab some gamers' attentions, but those that might like the game are strangely some of those that might not be initially attracted to it on first glance, and vice versa. While the critique on game development was enjoyable, the overall odd and staying far past their welcome cutscenes were not. And while the editing of entities within the game world and the solving of puzzles while doing so were fun, the game they were wrapped within was actually a bit drab, despite being lifted up a great deal by its sci-fi locations and the occasional requirement to think far outside the box compared to many other games. So that's it for me. If you liked the video, hit like. If you disliked it, hit dislike. Share us on Twitter if you liked it. Other than that, peace out.